Let us for a few minutes concentrate upon the Divine Master and pray for the well-being of the whole humanity. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Stapakaya ca dharmasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Stapakaya ca dharmasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namah. Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Mrityormamritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic I have chosen the power of the divine name. Name has great significance. It specifies a particular thing. It refers to the thing for which the name is prescribed. It has got so many things. We should try to understand the significance and the usefulness of the name. Whatever life you may lead, whether a secular life or a spiritual life, name plays a very important role. Suppose you go to a place in search of a job, the first thing they ask you would be, what's your name? So you have to register your name first, then everything follows. So, name represents, in a way, the history of a person, in a more significant way, a character of a person. Sometimes the name may not indicate the character of a person, but at least it specifies a particular person. Anyway, name is very important, and more so in spiritual life. If a person wants to lead a spiritual life, though he is following the materialistic way of life, the first thing essential is to receive the divine name. That's what we call initiation. The divine name of the Lord is given to the person so that it grows well in the heart of the person by repeating that divine name. So, one is secular way of dealing with the name. Another spiritual way. That means we are giving spiritual orientation to everything, whatever we do, whatever we see, whatever we think. So, even though you may be living a kind of worldly life or a secular life, yet it must be blended with spiritual ideas, spiritual attitude, spiritual outlook. Then you will see joy in your life. The joy you experience by spiritual orientation is distinct compared to the joy you get in the world without spiritual orientation. So, the spiritual tradition lays importance for repeating the divine name of God as much as you can, as devotedly as possible. If you are able to repeat the divine name with your full heart, sincerely, that divine name will take care of you in every respect. That means it takes the responsibility of your spiritual upliftment. Anyway, you must be aware of your spiritual dimension. If that is not there, then probably you will not relish the spiritual way of life. But you must be aware of that spiritual dimension. Spiritual dimension means you must be aware of your true spiritual nature. Your true spiritual nature is divinity. You are potentially divine. But because of so many factors, that divinity has been in potential form, and so you are not enjoying the real joy of life. You are no doubt having some kind of joy, some kind of happiness in the way you are living the life. But if you really come to spiritual way, then you will see remarkable distinction between the happiness you derive by spiritual practices and the happiness you derive by worldly contacts. Anyway, everything is to be achieved by steady practice. To initiate spiritual life, you must require a spiritual divine name. Well, Sri Ramakrishna has said many things useful for our spiritual life. He said to Nilakantha, one of the devotees, he told him, your eyes fill with tears when you utter the name of God. Why then should you worry about anything? Divine love has grown in you. What is Bhakti Yoga? Again Sri Ramakrishna tells, it is to keep the mind on God by chanting His name and glories. Sri Ramakrishna said to a tantric spiritual aspirant, he told him, all doubts disappear when one realizes the self, Atman. Assume the tamasic aspect of bhakti. Say with force, what? I have uttered the names of Rama and Kali. How can I be in bondage anymore? How can I be affected by the law of karma? So by forcefully uttering the divine name, you will be able to enhance your devotion and you will feel the effect of it. Sri Ramakrishna said, love of God is the one essential thing. A true lover of God has nothing to fear, nothing to worry about. He is aware that the Divine Mother knows everything. And he gives the example of cat and mouse. The cat handles the mouse one way, but its own kitten in a very different way. Again the Master said, God and His name are identical. There is no difference between Rama and His holy name. Hanuman, the great servant of Sri Ramachandra, he could cross the ocean without any hesitation, without doubting about his strength, because he had tremendous faith in the divine name of Rama, and he was overwhelmed by the spiritual power the name Rama generates. So, when he uttered the name of Rama, his whole being was on that name. That means he was surrendering himself to Rama for everything that might be needed to cross the ocean. And he was crossing the ocean in order to find out the whereabouts of Sita, who was very dear to Sri Ramachandra. And how wonderfully and miraculously Hanuman crossed over the ocean just by uttering the divine name of Rama. Though he came across certain obstacles on the way, all the obstacles he could overcome just by the power of Rama. And in our particularly Hindu tradition, The lot of importance is given to the name. In fact, who is called a Hindu? I am speaking about the religious Hindu, not political Hindu. Political Hindu simply is satisfied if he calls himself as a Hindu. I don't mean that way of Hindu. I mean Hindu means religious. A Hindu, a real Hindu. Hindu in the real sense of the term is 100% religious. Though he may be practicing some worldly jobs for earning his livelihood, for maintaining his family, in all his activities, there is continuous flow of spiritual power. He would offer worship, he would offer devotion, he would practice meditation, and after everything is done, he is ready to go for work. That's the way. Even myself, I have seen how our elders would get up very early morning, finish all devotions, everything. Then they would be ready for going to work. Now also people are ready, but they are ready to run for the job, not for doing worship. People are running in America. What for? Running for going to the job. The point is, there is no priority. The priority should be spiritual. That's the first priority. The second priority is worldly way. Whatever you are doing, it's all secondary. The primary is spiritual. So, when you are able to understand, when you become aware of your spiritual dimension, then you will really enjoy happiness and peace. So, there's a lot of importance to a name. It is not simply name. Name, it has got great significance. Why it has got great significance? Because it is associated with the divine. We want to be associated with divine in every possible way. That's the idea of taking the name of God. So, I was telling you, a Hindu, I mean the religious Hindu, is he who has performed 54 samskaras. Even before the birth of a child, a ritual is done. It has all the rituals have got spiritual significance. It's not simply ritual. It's not simply a superstition. No. Every ritual has got spiritual content. So even before the child is delivered, when the child is in the womb, a ritual is done so that the child would be very good when it comes to the world. So many samskaras are done. Up to the death, the total samskaras which the Hindu would require is 54. At least 16 samskaras he should be able to perform. Anyway, samskaras are needed That is how you are culturing your mind, culturing of the mind, training of the mind. Without culturing, without training, you won't feel anything about the spiritual. So, investing the child with a name is a sacred ceremony. Namakaranotsava, they call. Utsav, it's a celebration. They invite people, they offer worship to God, and the name is selected and it is pronounced. It has got tremendous value. Thereby, we are giving a particular orientation to the life of the child. So orientation begins from the childhood, not after 40, 50. Simply they talk, 40, 50. It should be done from the beginning, from the day you open your eyes in this world. Spiritual orientation should be given. That's the primary duty of the parents. Well, so we find, particularly in our Hindu tradition, mostly the names of boys and girls are the names of gods and goddesses. As I said earlier, each soul is potentially divine. By giving the child a divine name, what are we doing? We are trying to pave the way for the potentiality to develop faster. There is a famous story in Srimad Bhagavat, which I am going to narrate to you today, highlighting the significance of the divine name, how this divine name was responsible for the release of a person from death and bondage. The name is so powerful, so strong. If you activate the name by devotedly chanting every day, you will see the divine power manifesting through that name. I am telling you the story of a famous story. His name was Ajamila. He was born in a very orthodox family. He was also a great scholar, very much learned in the scriptures, and he led a very pious life, and he was austere too. He had a young wife. He took care of the wife very lovingly. He was free from jealousy and other allied vices. He was kind-hearted. He was helpful to his fellow beings. That means he has all these noble qualities. Well, he had this background, you must know. The background is very important. Whatever good you have done will not go in vain. It has got its tremendous impact on your life. It opens up and it helps you at the time of crisis. Once, however, he was going through a forest. When he was walking through in the woods, he saw a tribal woman. Somehow the tribal woman liked this Ajamil who was walking in the woods. She just approached him and she was spreading her influence upon him so that he could have her company. Ajamil, of course, he tried his best to restrain himself because he had already got a wife. There was no need for him to go in for another lady. But the fate turned in a different way. Somehow he was smitten with passion. For the time being, he forgot his position. He forgot his obligations. He forgot his culture. He fell a slave to her. That means he was overpowered by lust. Well, then it follows, he started living with her. He would no more go to his married wife at home. He utilized all the assets he had to please the tribal woman. And slowly he began to acquire wealth through foul means. He gave up the cultural life. And he had number of children with this second wife. And all his time was spent in fondling these children. And the life went on in this way. Time and tide wait for none. Old age will come to everybody. So he was also had to pass through old age. His senses became weaker, but not his attachment to his the second wife and the children born to her. He was particularly fond of his last son. The last son, he named him as Narayan. He knew very well that Narayan was the name of the Supreme Lord, whom he was worshipping all through life. And so it prompted him to put that name to the last child. The youngest child was loved by him very much. The most joyous pastime of the evening of his life was to feed Narayan seated beside him and to watch the pranks of that prattling child. Anyway, he was always engaged in fondling the child. Well, the last fateful day arrived, and on that terrible day, Ajamila saw before him very ferocious beings. He had not seen like that before. And he had read about the messengers of Yama, how they would look like. So they were exactly resembling the same way as he had read. So they came to fetch him with ropes in hand. They want to take the soul away from the body. They were shouting at him, "Come away, your time is over. You have to come now." And Ajamil was frightened. Then he cried out desperately to his boy who was playing some distance away. He called his name, Narayan. "Oh Narayan, come quickly." That's what he said. "Come quickly, Narayan." Hearing the sacred name of Sri Hari, the messengers of Vishnu arrived there quickly. Though he meant the boy Narayan to come, well, it has got an explanation to give. Now these messengers of Vishnu came to Ajamil, whose soul was being forced to get out of the body by the messengers of Yama. The attendants of Yama protested the presence of the attendants of the Vishnu, and they said to them, "Why are you obstructing us in the discharge of our duties?" This particular man has been leading a very sinful life. Though he was born in a noble family, though he was trained in scriptures, he has been supporting himself and his family through highway robbery now. He has acquired all bad habits, gambling, cheating, stealing, and so on. So, this particular person has been leading a life of corruption. He has been consistently practicing cruelty to the living beings. It is therefore just and proper that he be consigned to hell. He must suffer for the sins he has committed. We are taking him to our master Yama, who will prescribe the appropriate punishment for him. So we have come. Don't obstruct us. Then the attendants of Vishnu told the messengers of Yama, "Look, you who ought to be able to distinguish between right and wrong seem to have lost the very sense of justice. You talk of sin and its expiation. You don't realize that this particular person has done the greatest expiation. He has called out, 'O Narayana, come.' By uttering the four-syllable name of the Lord, he has wiped away all imaginable sins. There is no sin which can survive the sound of the Lord's name. So, Ajamila is fit not for hell but for Vaikuntha, the abode of Vishnu." The Yama's attendants were puzzled. They said, "Yours is a queer logic. We don't deny that the Lord's name is a panacea for all ills, but then this man did not call out to the Lord at all. He was calling his son Narayana. His son was named Narayana, so he was calling his son. So your compassion for this wretch is misplaced." Then the messengers of Vishnu smiled and again said to the messengers of Yama, "Evidently you don't know the power and glory contained in the Lord's name. Its utterance purifies men not only of their sins but also of the very tendency to sin. It doesn't matter who prompts the utterance of the divine name. It may be uttered casually by way of calling someone. It may be in jest. It may be an expression of wonder or the conclusion of a recital. Even if Hari's name is uttered in delirium, it expiates all sins. The divine name is like a potent medicine. A man may take the medicine unaware of its potency, but the medicine will work within him with undiminished power and bring about a cure. So too, if a man utters the Lord's name without any clear idea of what it can do, the name which is free and untrammeled in its power will produce the result. This Ajamila, he may have uttered Narayana, thinking not of the Lord, but of his son. Even so, the Narayana who is in everyone, including the Son, cannot help responding to the anguished call. Another example is given. A child may cry without being able to see the mother, but the mother, on hearing the cry, rushes to the child without waiting for a detailed explanation from the child. The Lord's compassion is far, far greater than man's capacity to sin. Hence the Lord's response to our anguish is faster and more sensitive than our awareness. Moreover, there is nothing accidental in the divine scheme. If Ajamila has been able to remember the Lord's name at the moment of death, it means that in spite of all the wicked things he has done of late, his earlier good samskaras have come up and bent his mind towards the Lord, even though he himself does not know it. Hearing this explanation, the messengers of Yama withdrew from the scene, and Vishnu's messengers finally went back to Vaikuntha. Ajamila was now fully recovered. He was fully aware of the total scene, and he became fully conscious of what he had done. He was fully conscious of what he was before, and that gave a good awakening to him. And for the rest of his life, he refrained from all evil deeds. He more than compensated for the bad things he had done. He again started more austere life than before. He began to do his devotional practices more devotedly, more concentratedly, more willingly, more faithfully. Finally, because he became totally convinced of the significance of the divine name, he died finally uttering the name of Narayan with full consciousness and awareness of the potency of the name, and so he was taken to the abode of Vishnu. So that is the way how the divine name works. Uttering the divine name is the easiest and surest way to attain the highest. That's why we always say, repeat the divine name as much as you can. That's what we call japa. People keep on doubting about the repetition, whether the repetition would not become mechanical. Without entering into any kind of argumentation, simply believe the words of Guru, have faith in him. Whatever the name you have received from the Guru, repeat that name wholeheartedly and conduct your life. You will be safe. Not only that, finally you will be taken to the higher regions and you'll be always peaceful and happy. That's the power of the divine name. Page 625. The devotees felt as if they were in paradise itself. Master said to the Brahmos, dive deep, learn to love God, plunge into divine love. You see, I have heard how you pray. Why do you, Brahmos, dwell so much on the glories of God? Is there such great need of your saying over and over again, O God, you have created the sky, the great oceans, the lunar world, the solar world, and the stellar world? Everybody is wonderstruck at the mere sight of a rich man's garden house. People become speechless at the sight of the trees, the flowers, the ponds, the drawing room, the pictures. But alas, how few are they who seek the owner of all this. Only one or two inquire after him. He who seeks God with a longing heart can see him. Talk to him as I am talking to you. Believe my words when I say that God can be seen. But to whom am I saying these words? Who will believe me? Can one find God in the sacred books? By reading the scriptures, one may feel at the most that God exists. But God doesn't reveal himself to a man unless he himself dives deep. Only after such a plunge, after the revelation of God through his grace, he is once doubt destroyed. You may read scriptures by the thousands and recite thousands of texts, but unless you plunge into God with yearning of heart, you will not comprehend him. By mere scholarship, you may fool man, but not God. Scriptures and books, what can one achieve with these alone? Nothing can be realized without his grace. Strive with a longing heart for his grace. Through his grace, you will see him and he will talk to you. Subjudge. Sir, does God show more grace to one than to another? If so, he can be accused of the fault of partiality. Master said, what are you saying? Do you mean to say that the moon and a glowworm are the same, though both give light? Ishwar Vidyasagar asked me the same question. He said, is it a fact, sir, that God gives more power to one and less to another? God, I said, exists in every being as the all-pervading spirit. He is in the ant as well as in me, but there are different manifestations of his power in different beings. If all are the same, then why have we come here to see you? Attracted by your renown? Have you grown a pair of horns? Oh no, it is not that. You have compassion, you have scholarship. There is a greater degree of these virtues in you than in others. That's the reason you are so well known. Don't you see that there are men who single-handed can defeat 100 persons? Again, one man takes to his heels in fear of another, and you see such a person too. If there are not different manifestations of power in different beings, then why did people respect Keshav Sen so much? It is said in the Gita that if a man is respected and honored by many, whether it be for his scholarship or his music or his oratory or anything else, then you may know for certain that he is endowed with a special divine power. A Brahmo said to the sub-judge, why don't you accept what he says? Master, sharply said to the Brahma, "What sort of man are you? To accept words without conviction? Why? That is hypocrisy. I see you are only a counterfeit." The Brahma was much embarrassed. Shall stop here. So, name is very important. Don't neglect the name. But people are not very serious about giving the names. I have seen people having the name wolf, lamb. Many times, particularly when I come across people, when they tell their names and etc., sometimes I ask them, "Do you know the name of your name? Do you know the meaning of your name?" "Oh, Swami, we don't know." You don't know the meaning of your name? So, it's like that. It has lost its value, so to say. But, as I said, even from the beginning, try to think of God in every manner. Not only when you come to temple, even when you are in home, even when you are engaged in some activities, even when you are in social gathering, you don't have to stop repeating God's name mentally. You can keep on repeating God's name, maintain your spiritual outlook all the time. Of course, if you maintain your spiritual aptitude and then conduct your life, wherever you are, you will be wonderful, you will not be tainted by worldliness. There's a Sanskrit saying, Padma Patra Mivambasa, the lotus, water on the lotus leaf. So like that you must maintain your life in this world. Any question? Do you have? No. No, I was going in a much in a deeper spiritual sense. I told the mantra. See, the divine mantra is given by the Guru to the disciple so that he can repeat that mantra constantly and get the benefit. So, I was telling how important the divine name is. That's the idea. Every mantra is the name of God. And if you know it and repeat it consciously, that it is divine name you are repeating, you will have all the benefit of repeating it. And it will work itself. It purifies your heart. It gives enlightenment. It gives peace. It gives joy. Even though you may be passing through some difficulties, passing through some problems and troubles, still, because of your tremendous faith or cultivating faith in the divine name, you'll be able to sustain them, or you'll be able to bear. You're not shaken by these troubles and circumstances and surroundings and so on. On the other hand, you'll be able to walk through them, not much bothered about them. That's a great thing. Not succumbing to the situations, but marching boldly onward, forward. That's the thing. All right, we shall stop. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself, O self, drown deep in the waves of His bliss, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is thy wretchedness, we who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass, be patient and forbearing like a tree, take no honor to thyself, give honor to all, chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the ties of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy, consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Oh, how I long for the day when the instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years. When my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrated at thy feet let me be, in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stillest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous reign in tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied, for he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.